Announcements none. Papers have been laid. Motion.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to move that all the business on today's order paper be exempted from the provisions of paragraph 2 of Standing Order 10.
The question is that all the business on today's order paper be exempted from the provisions of paragraph 2 of Standing Order 10. Those in favour say aye. Those against say no. Aye. The ayes have it.
Statement by Ministers none. Public Bill first reading.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I move that the appropriation 2021-2022 Bill number 10 of 2021 be read a first time.
Seconded.
Public Bill second reading.
Minister, you may proceed.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I move that the appropriation 2021-2022 Bill number 10 of 2021 be read a second time. Mr. Speaker, sir, I was before this August Assembly almost exactly 1 year ago to unveil to the nation our response to the COVID-19 crisis and our recovery plan in the budget speech. Our priorities then were to protect lives and livelihoods, maintain the production capacity, and preserve the stability of our economy. These priorities are today at the heart of this budget. We have gone the extra mile in whatever we did, and we will continue to do so. We have supported businesses and people to limit defaults, prevent bankruptcies, and most importantly, preserve jobs and livelihoods. This has been our strategy. According to the World Bank, Mauritius' COVID response is the fourth largest in the world, amounting to 32% of our GDP. Without this unprecedented government support, the two consecutive contractions of our GDP in fiscal years 2019-2020 and 2020-2021 would have led to 100,000 unemployed people. That is 20% of our labor force. Yet, we managed to keep unemployment at 9.2%. Inflation has been kept under control. Mr. Speaker, sir, vaccination is the game changer. It brings hope throughout the world. International institutions are forecasting a strong global recovery this year. World GDP is expected to grow by 6% in 2021. And as the world engages on the road to economic recovery, we are now beginning to see light at the end of the tunnel. With the rollout of vaccines in our country, we are setting the stage to emerge stronger. This is why Budget 2021-2022 is about recovery, revival, and resilience. These are the three core strategies that will drive our actions and shape our economic, social, and environmental policies in this budget. Indeed, it is time to rise back. We'll recover from the crisis. We'll revive all our industries. We'll improve our social resilience. We'll be better together. Let me first spell out our plan for the economy. The COVID-19 pandemic has struck at the very foundations of our economic growth and development model. This is why we need to accelerate the pace of recovery and build resilience to sustain a high long-term growth path. Today, we are setting a new strategy which will rest on three main pillars: giving an exceptional boost to investment, shaping a new economic architecture, and restoring confidence. Mr. Speaker, sir, today we are facing exceptional challenges that require equally exceptional policies. The path to economic recovery and long-term resilience must be solid and effective, one that will generate more jobs and create more wealth. We are therefore launching an unprecedented investment drive in our economy. Government will invest some 65 billion rupees in priority projects over the next 3 years. 11.7 billion rupees for a national flood management program, 12 billion rupees for the construction of 12,000 social housing units, 4 billion rupees for projects under the Economic Recovery Program, 9.4 billion rupees for the construction of Rivière des Anguilles Dam and its treatment plant, 5.7 billion rupees for community development projects, and 22 billion rupees for land transport projects, including roads and the Metro Express. Mr. Speaker, sir, just a few weeks ago, our country and our citizens have been under severe stress with flash floods in the south, southeastern, and the central region of the island. Port Louis and the northern part of the island have also been affected in the recent past. Flash floods and unpredictable weather conditions have today become a recurrence. Mr. Speaker, sir, whilst the risk can never be fully eliminated, we need to build up resilience to flash floods and cyclones. We are therefore announcing an unprecedented 3-year national flood management program to the tune of 11.7 billion rupees. This massive flood management program will be spearheaded by the Land Drainage Authority. It will consist of the construction and upgrading of some 1,500 drain projects across the island over the next 3 years, starting with high-risk flood-prone areas, including 343 million rupees for Paille, Plaine-Lausanne, Cité-Richelieu, Pointe-aux-Sables, and La Tour-Koenig, 479 million rupees for Port-Louis along Ruisseau du Pouce, the city centre, Tranquebar, Vallée-Pitot, and Ward 4, 383 million rupees for Plaine Verte, Rochebois, and Canal Anglais, 559 million rupees for Chitrakoot, Vallée des Prêtres, Sainte-Croix, Crèvecoeur, Congoma, Richter, and Terre Rouge, 872 million rupees for Béji-Tombeau, Pointe-au-Piment, Terre Rouge, and Pamplemousse, 383 million rupees for Fond-du-Sac, Grand B, Pérébert, Petit Raffray, Goodlands, Grand Gaube, Poudre d'Or, Rochester, and the Vale, 1.1 billion rupees for Amaury, Bellevue, Morel, Cottage, Piton, L'Amitié, Mapou, Petite Julie, Plaine des Roches, Plaine des Papayes, Poudre d'Or, Hamlet, and Rivière du Rempart, 726 million rupees for Cantorel, Quartier Militaire, L'Espérance, Verdun, Dagotière, Saint-Pierre, Moka, L'Avenir, La Laura, and Nouvelle Découverte, 401 million rupees for Centre de Flac, Poste de Flac, and Queen Victoria, 569 million rupees for Montagne Blanche, Médine, Camp de Masque, Melrose, Clémentia, Bramstan, and Bel Air, 1.5 billion rupees for Ange-Jonché, Bambou, Bambou-Vérieux, Bois des Amourettes, Grand Port, Rivière des Créoles, Saint-Hilaire, Saint-Hubert, Cluny, Rosebel, Gros-Billot, New Grove, Nouvelle-France, Providence, and Union Park. 594 million rupees for Petit Bel Air, Grand Bel Air, Maïbou, Martaba, Plaine-Magnan, and Trois-Boutiques, 780 million rupees for Château-Bénarès, Britannia, L'Escalier, Rivière des Anguilles, Taillac, Candia, Bois-Chéry, Grand-Bois, La Flora, Rivière du Poste, Souillac, and Saint-Aubin, 572 million rupees for Albion, Bambou, Black River, Chamarel, Chamonix, Chemin-Grenier, Suriname, Cité-la-Ferme, Coteau-Raffin, Flic-en-Flac, and Pierrefonds, 172 million rupees for Hermitage and Vaqua, 461 million rupees for Glen Park, Henrietta, Lamarie, and Malakoff, 339 million rupees for Dubreuil, Midlands, Okoulé, Curepipe, and Forestside, 419 million rupees for Quatre-Bornes, La Sauce, Sednac, Palma, and Belle-Rose, 382 million rupees for Rosil, including Berthaud Avenue, Plaisance, Camp-le-Vieux, Avenue Huguenin, and Cité-Trèfle, 462 million rupees for Beaubassin, Chebel, Coromandel, Montroche, and Petite Rivière, and 224 million rupees for Rodrigues. For this exceptional and critical project for our country, parastatal bodies will contribute 8.5 billion rupees from their excess accumulated cash balances. Mr. Speaker, sir, in November last year, we announced an economic recovery program focusing on the upgrading of roads, education, and health infrastructure, community amenities, as well as sewage networks. The implementation of these projects to the tune of 4 billion rupees are now underway. These include 2.8 billion rupees in infrastructure development, comprising, amongst others, the construction of roads, sport amenities, water projects, rehabilitation of public buildings, improving road safety, and projects in Rodrigues and Agaliga. 250 million rupees for embellishment of beaches, cleaning of rivers and canals, rehabilitation of heritage and tourist sites, greening of towns and villages, and upgrading of sewage infrastructure. 650 million rupees in renewable energy projects through the installation of solar panels on rooftops of government buildings, including hospitals and educational institutions, as well as provision of solar water heaters to some 2,000 households. 120 million rupees for water distribution, including replacement of 281 water production meters at reservoir and pumping sites, acquisition of 10 water tankers, installation of 7 inflatable reservoirs and 25 heavy capacity tanks, and upgrading of irrigation system. 180 million rupees for public service delivery by acquiring modern tools and equipment for hospitals and local authorities. Mr. Speaker, sir, government remains committed to deliver on its engagement to provide regular water supply to the population. 9.4 billion rupees will be invested in the construction of the Rivière des Anguilles Dam and its water treatment plant. This will ensure reliable water supply in the southern region of the country. In order to address the long-standing water shortage in Rodrigues, 1 billion rupees is being invested by the Mauritius Investment Corporation. We will further invest 3.2 billion rupees over the next 3 years to expand our water storage and treatment facilities through the upgrading of La Ferme and Mauve Aqua Reservoir, construction of 6 service reservoirs at Alma, Sorèze, Cluny, Richanneau, Salazie, and Aubouilly, installation of 18 pressure filtration plants to secure constant water supply at Black River, Montagne Blanche, Calbas, Saint-Pierre, Baolo, Rivière-du-Post, Albion, Taillac, The Mount, Piton du Milieu, Chamonix, Amaury, and Henrietta, replacement of 300 kilometers of defective pipes, and installation of 2,600 smart meters to allow for automatic reading of water usage for large consumers. Mr. Speaker, sir, one of government's main priorities is to ensure that every family in our country has a decent home. Last year, we made a commitment to invest in 12,000 social housing units. Our commitment to this policy is undiminished, and the project will be completed by 2024. Over and above, 1,285 social housing units will be completed in the upcoming financial year at Mortaba, Dagotière, Mort d'Albert, and Gros Caillou. The construction of an additional 2,025 social housing units in Wooton, Cascavel, Baie-du-Tombeau, La Valette, Plainbois, Orgy, Montgou, Bassin, and Petit Bel-Air will start in 2021-2022. Mr. Speaker, sir, we'll continue in our endeavor to expand and modernize our road and land transport networks. The metro should be operational in Quatre-Bornes by end of this month and in Cupip by the end of 2022. I'm providing some 4.5 billion rupees to extend the metro from Roselle to Réduit through Eben. To expand our road network, investment will be made in the following projects: motorway M4 between Bel Air and Forbach, flyovers at Wotton, Eben, Quédé, and Terre Rouge, La Vigie, La Brasserie, Bossonge, Link Road, bypass roads at Verdun, Hermitage, Flic-en-Flac, Bois-Chéry, and upgrading of roads at Beauchamp, Ange-Jonché, Palmerstone, and Chemin Vingt-Pieds at Grand Bay. A feasibility study will be conducted for the construction of a road between Dubreuil and Montagne Blanche. Government is also investing 5.7 billion rupees over the next 3 years, in addition to the 1 billion rupees under the Economic Recovery Program in community development projects across Mauritius to improve the quality of life of our citizens. Projects under these programs include Promenade Farquhar at Quatre-Bornes, Market Fair at Nouvelle-France and Belle-Rose, a mini traffic center at Bel-Air, a modern sports center at Plaine Verte, an esplanade and walkway at Quartier Militaire, 4 Muga projects at Pointe-aux-Sables, Rivière-du-Rempart, Sainte-Croix and Flac, 2 integrated sports amenities at Quatre-Bornes and Dubreuil, 6 multipurpose complexes at Rochebrune, Suriname, Amaury, Tranquebar, Amitié and Goodlands, 5 subhalls at Saint-Julien-d'Hautemont, Dagotière, Résidence Vignolles, Rivière-du-Post and Benares. Construction and upgrading of 25 children's playgrounds, 35 mini soccer pitches, 20 football grounds, 20 gymnasia, 10 volleyball pitches, 5 pétanque courts, and 3 health tracks across the island. 220 million rupees is being allocated for the revamping of 10 social welfare centers into family and community centers. Furthermore, preliminary works will start for the construction of a market fair at QPIP. Mr. Speaker, sir, we are also creating a conducive environment to unlock private sector investment over the next 3 years. 8 billion rupees will be invested in the development of urban terminals at Vaqua, Rosil, Quatre-Bornes, and QPIP. Moreover, the measures that we are announcing today are expected to generate an additional 27 billion rupees of private investment. As such, we need to support the transformation and modernization of our industry. We will therefore set up a 5 billion rupees Modernization and Transformation Fund, which will be managed by a new industrial financial institution, IFI. The IFI will take over the activities of the ISP Limited and SME Equity Fund and cater for industries in manufacturing, agriculture, and fisheries, amongst others. The Modernization and Transformation Fund will be instrumental in reigniting industrial development. Projects eligible under this fund will benefit from leasing facilities at a preferential rate of 2.5% per annum over an extended period of up to 9 years. In addition, I'm reducing the annual interest rate for the existing leasing equipment modernization scheme as follows. LEMS 1 from 3.9% to 2.9% for companies with turnover up to 50 million rupees. LEMS 2 from 4.25% to 3.25% for companies with turnover between 50 million rupees and 250 million rupees, and LEMS 3 from 4.75% to 3.75% for companies with turnover above 250 million rupees. The credit guarantee scheme will be extended for SMEs to cover 5% of the default amount on leases contracted from private leasing companies. The IFI will also be implementing the credit guarantee scheme in collaboration with the Fonds de Solidarité Africain. I'm increasing the maximum investment through licensed crowd lending platforms by the IFI from 200,000 rupees to 1 million rupees per project. A 200% deduction from taxable income will be allowed on the acquisition of specialized software and systems. Mr. Speaker, sir, investment in our economy is dependent on our business environment. We have made significant progress in the recent years, and we will build on this success. Government is coming up with a major reform in our doing business environment. We shall introduce a regulatory impact assessment bill. This legislation will require regulatory bodies, amongst others, to submit an impact of upcoming regulation on the business environment. To oversee and monitor the quality of assessment, a RIA office will be established under the purview of the Prime Minister's office. The silent is consent principle will apply to licenses and permits as may be prescribed. We are also streamlining some 16 different incentive schemes under free certificates issued by the EDB, namely the Investment Certificate, the Export Development Certificate, and the Premium Investor Certificate. The Premium Investor Certificate will allow companies investing at least 500 million rupees to benefit from negotiable incentives upon recommendation of a technical committee and approval by the minister. All businesses will be required to register with the Economic Development Board to avail of incentives and schemes introduced by the government. In this respect, the Economic Development Board will set up a business support facility that will provide facilitation and advisory services to all businesses in Mauritius, dedicate an accounts manager to all registered businesses, implement an information sharing platform with the MRA and CBRD to facilitate exchange of information between these institutions. Furthermore, to keep abreast of all business and economic developments, issues and opportunities, the EDB will set up commissions on trade and business facilitation, export development, investment, sectoral development, and financial services. We'll further pursue our strategy to automate public service delivery through the development of a new companies and business registration integrated system, development of a notice-based registry under the Mauritius e-registry system, and upgrading of the e-judiciary system. I will also come up with an insolvency amendment bill to factor in developments in insolvency practices since 2009, with a particular focus on preserving businesses amidst the COVID-19 pandemic. The Attorney General's Office will work with the judiciary to undertake a review of court procedures in view of expediting commercial disputes. I will now elaborate on the second pillar of our strategy, which is about shaping a new economic architecture. Mr. Speaker, sir, today we are announcing a new economic growth pole, the green energy industry. It is an industry which will have a significant impact on our economy, boost our GDP growth, and most importantly, create new job opportunities. There's already a guaranteed local demand of some 20 billion rupees for energy in our economy, most of which are imported as fossil fuel. We have all the renewable sources needed to produce our own energy, be it biomass, solar, wind, or wave. We have the human resources, expertise, and means to do so. We must produce 60% of our country's energy needs from green sources by 2030. The use of coal will be totally phased out before 2030. In line with this strategy, CEB will invest some 5.3 billion rupees over the next 3 years to raise tenfold the absorption capacity of intermittent renewable energy through increased battery capacity to some 40 megawatt from the current 4 megawatt. Set up 10 gas-insulated switchgear substations to improve reliability and increase the share of renewable energy. Implement the various renewable energy schemes of the CEB for households, businesses, SMEs, religious bodies, and NGOs. Implement the net billing project and set up a solar farm of 10 megawatt at Tamarin Falls, en Yeta. CEB will also launch a request for proposal to set up a 40-megawatt wind farm that will require some 2.4 billion rupees of investment. Mr. Speaker, sir, the CEB will also allow for integrated green energy projects combining the use of biomass, wind, and solar energy. Will further enable companies and individuals to provide renewable energy directly to the CEB if the price is below the maximum tariff set. To enable households to purchase solar kits for domestic use, the DBM will provide a concessionary loan of 2% up to an amount of 100,000 rupees. To support the development of this industry, the CEB, Centre de Formation et de Perfectionnement Professionnel, will become an accredited center to provide training in the fields of renewable energy and energy efficiency. Mr. Speaker, sir, over the last years, we have incentivized the use of electric vehicles by making its purchase duty-free and reducing registration duty and road tax. This makes it economically more attractive to a consumer to buy an electric vehicle than a conventional one. We are removing the 5% excise duty on electric vans of up to 180 kilowatt used for the transport of goods. To further promote demand for electric vehicles, owners will be allowed to install a photovoltaic system not exceeding 10 kilowatt to charge their vehicles and export any surplus to the grid. On one hand, subsidies and incentives for the importation of diesel buses are being phased out. On the other hand, the subsidy for the purchase of electric buses is being increased from 1 million rupees to 1.2 million rupees for 9-meter buses and from 1.3 million rupees to 1.5 million rupees for buses above 9 meters. Operators acquiring electric buses will be eligible to a lease under the Transformation Fund. We are purchasing 25 electric buses for the NTC to renew its fleet. Mr. Speaker, sir, a major source of renewable energy is biomass. It is readily available and intrinsically linked to our country's economic history. It is already the largest source of green energy, accounting for 11% of the country's electricity. Today, we are announcing the setting up of a national biomass framework. Bagasse will henceforth be remunerated at 3.50 rupees per kilowatt hour for all planters and producers. Mr. Speaker, sir, the travel and tourism industry has been the most severely hit by the pandemic. We have provided substantial support to maintain the capacity for this industry to bounce back. In fact, more than 8.5 billion rupees have already been spent to assist some 50,000 individuals in the sector through the Wage Assistance Scheme and Self-Employed Assistance Scheme. Mr. Speaker, sir, one of the components to relaunch the tourism sector is the reopening of our borders. To this end, the Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Tourism, as well as the Minister of Health and Wellness, held extensive consultations with a broad range of stakeholders to establish a calendar as well as the appropriate protocols to ensure the safe and productive opening of our country to the world. A ministerial committee under the chairmanship of the Prime Minister deliberated on the recommendations. I have therefore the pleasure to announce that, as from the 15th of July 2021, Mauritius will be open to all vaccinated visitors for resort tourism. A tourist will be allowed to leave the hotel after 14 days with a negative PCR test. And as from the 1st of October 2021, subject to preconditions being met, all vaccinated tourists with a negative PCR test will be allowed on the Mauritian territory without any restrictions. We are preparing for a gradual and sustained recovery of the sector, aiming at 650 tourists over the next 12 months. To this end, a total amount of 420 million rupees is being allocated to the Mauritius Tourism Promotion Authority for the promotion and destination marketing in France, Réunion, UK, Germany, Italy, South Africa, and China, organization of cultural tourism events locally and internationally, e-promotion for e-marketing, online events and virtual roadshows, and joint marketing with tour operators and airline companies, amongst others. The EDB will set up a special desk aiming to attract at least 50,000 foreign retirees in Mauritius during the next financial year for a targeted marketing campaign in collaboration with MTPA. A dedicated portal for foreign retirees will be launched. It will provide practical information on accommodation facilities, cultural and leisure activities, and healthcare services, amongst others. Mr. Speaker, sir, we are upholding our support to this sector by extending the wage assistance and self-employed assistance scheme to tourism-related companies for the 3-month period up to September 2021. Deferring the payment of lease on state lands to June 2022, and waiving the rental fee of counters by hotels and operators at the airport for the period April to September 2021. We are reducing the registration tax on transfer of lease of state lands from 20% to 10% for hotels for a 2-year period. The DBM will introduce a tourism business continuity loan for SMEs at a rate of 0.5% per annum. Mr. Speaker, sir, with a changing tourism landscape, we need to reposition the industry to cater for new business segments. The UNDP is assisting Mauritius in this endeavor. Increasingly, the tourism industry should aim at more long-term visitors. To this end, the Invest Hotel scheme will be amended to allow the sale of up to 80% of the units, with the possibility for the owner of a room to stay for a maximum of 6 months annually, and reduce the minimum selling price of a standalone villa from 500,000 USD to 375,000 USD. To promote local tourism and talents, 5 fête lord or villas will be organized. We will also provide for the upgrading of leisure facilities on a phased basis in 4 major public beaches, namely Montchoisy, Fric-en-Flac, Bellemare, and La Prairie. Mr. Speaker, sir, in line with the vision of our Prime Minister, we shall continue to support and further develop the agricultural sector. I announced earlier the introduction of the biomass framework, which will enable sugarcane planters to benefit from free ₹50 per kilowatt hour of electricity. Thus, all planters and producers will benefit from a remuneration of ₹3,300 per ton of sugar for bagasse. Furthermore, we'll provide a guaranteed price of ₹25,000 per ton for planters producing up to 60 tons of sugar for crop 2021. A waiver on insurance premium payable to Sugar Insurance Fund Board by planters producing up to 60 tons of sugar for crop 2021. A 50% subsidy on fertilizer for crop 2021 for planters producing up to 60 tons of sugar, a 50% refund on the cost related to certification, testing, and accreditation with a view to achieving standards such as Bon Sucre, a cane replantation scheme for small planters, and a modern sugar storage facility of 150,000 tons at Richter. I will now elaborate on measures to boost non-sugar agricultural production. Landscope, through the centralized digital land bank, will make available some 1,000 arpents of land to private growers with a view to boosting agricultural production. 36 million rupees will be provided to renew the fleet of tractors of the Agricultural Management Unit under the MCIA. Moreover, planters having recourse to MCIA registered private tractor operators will also benefit from the Land Mechanization Support Scheme. Tea cooperatives will be provided with a grant of 10,000 rupees on the purchase of tea harvesters. Tea growers will continue to benefit from the winter allowance. I'm maintaining the 50% subsidy on prices of potato and onion seeds. This subsidy will be extended to seeds for the production of garlic and pulses. The AMB is coming up with a guaranteed price mechanism for onion, garlic, and potatoes for producers. I'm extending the sheltered farming scheme to charitable institutions, primary schools, and colleges. I'm also increasing the maximum loan under the DBM Backyard Gardening Loan Scheme from 20,000 rupees to 100,000 rupees. Planters will be eligible to the following loan schemes from the DBM: 100,000 rupees interest-free loan for cash flow issues and a 0.5% COVID-19 special support scheme of up to 1 million rupees. Planters will be eligible to leasing facilities under the Transformation Fund from IFI for the acquisition of single, double space cabin vehicles. For planters facing difficulties in repaying long overdue loans, the DBM is coming up with an amnesty program. Mr. Speaker, sir, the African Development Bank is assisting government to set up an agro-processing zone at Wootton. The zone will include the relevant infrastructure and equipment for processing, food testing, and warehousing. These facilities will be put at the disposal of SMEs, cooperatives, and businesses. Mr. Speaker, sir, livestock production and animal breeding have a significant potential for further growth, investment, and job creation. The subsidy on animal feed will be doubled from 4 rupees per kilo to 8 rupees per kilo. Will increase the financial incentive from 5,000 rupees to 7,500 rupees per calf under the calf productivity scheme. We'll promote the production of venison in order to reduce our dependence on import of meat. Henceforth, mobile slaughterhouse facilities will be authorized for deer breeders. For breeders facing difficulties in repaying long overdue loans, the DBM is coming up with an amnesty program. For the emergence of a breeding industry in Mauritius, I'm zero-rating VAT and exempting import duties on animals for the purpose of training, breeding, and re-export. These activities will also be exempted from registration duty. In addition, the pasture system will be extended to cover areas of up to 50 arpents. Mr. Speaker, sir, we also need to maximize the potential of the fishery sector. I'm coming up with the following measures. An additional 500 fishermen cards will be provided. The bad weather allowance will be increased from 425 rupees to 475 rupees. Every fisherman aged 65 and above will receive a lump sum of 50,500 rupees if they return their fisherman card or transfer it. And some 1,800 artisanal fishers will be provided with an annual financial assistance to the tune of 2,500 rupees for the purchase of hooks. Fishermen will also be eligible to the following loan schemes from the DBM: 100,000 interest-free loan for cash flow issues, and a 0.5% COVID-19 special support scheme of up to 1 million rupees. For fishers facing difficulties in repaying long overdue loans, the DBM is coming up with an amnesty program. The IFI will provide leasing facilities at an annual interest rate of 2.5% for acquisition of semi-industrial fishing vessels up to a maximum of 10 million rupees. Navigation aids will be installed in 22 sites to promote safe navigation. The use of fiberglass vessels of 24 meters and above will be henceforth authorized for fishing activities. Mr. Speaker, sir, I now come to the biotechnology and pharmaceutical industry. Globally, the pharmaceutical industry alone generates more than $1 trillion annually, and its growth rate is surging. We can create a major new manufacturing industry in our country, that of vaccine and pharmaceutical production. We'll encourage private companies to construct purpose-built factories for manufacturing of pharmaceutical products and medical devices, as well as for clinical and preclinical trials. To this end, developers will be able to benefit from exemption on registration duty and land transfer tax, land conversion tax, and VAT on construction. All companies engaged in the manufacture of pharmaceuticals and medical devices will be eligible to a premium investor certificate. Biotechnology and pharmaceutical companies will be allowed a full tax credit on the cost of acquisition of patents. Companies engaged in the medical, biotechnology, and pharmaceutical sector will be taxed at 3% instead of 15%. Government will provide a seed capital of 1 billion rupees to the Mauritius Institute of Biotechnology for the setting up of a manufacturing plant for the local production of COVID-19 vaccines and other pharmaceutical products. To this end, we'll invite renowned pharmaceutical companies and potential investors to participate in this undertaking. Mr. Speaker, sir, the surge in public sector investment over the next 3 years will be a tremendous stimulus to the construction industry. We are also giving a boost to residential construction projects. The measures that I will announce will support government's vision of a more inclusive society by making home ownership affordable for all. In addition to the 12,000 social housing units being constructed, we are earmarking 2 billion rupees to support the purchase of residential land and property, as well as the construction of housing units by individuals. An individual buying a house, apartment, or land to construct his residence in the financial year 2021-2022 will benefit from a refund of 5% of the cost of the property up to a maximum of 500,000 rupees. Those contracting a home loan to construct their residence will benefit from a refund of 5% of the home loan up to a maximum of 500,000 rupees. I'm also reviewing the exemption of registration duty for first-time buyers. Henceforth, the exemption shall apply on the first 5 million rupees of the cost of a build-up residential property. Previously, this exemption was restricted to properties whose value is below 5 million rupees. Furthermore, some 2,000 lots will be put on sale by the SIC and Rosebell Sugar Estate for residential purposes. Mr. Speaker, sir, while promoting home ownership, we need to ensure that access to finance is easy, swift, and efficient. I'm announcing today a new policy to stand behind home buyers. Government will work with commercial banks to introduce a mortgage scheme to cover 80% of housing loans for self-employed individuals and contractual employees, and 100% of the housing loans for other individuals. Mr. Speaker, sir, despite the pandemic, the ICT BPO sector has performed well with a growth rate of 5.9% in 2020. The Métis cable connecting Mauritius to South Africa is now a reality since March 2021. It will expand our new digital highway to the rest of the world. In order to further enhance the sector's development and resilience, I'm announcing a series of measures. A digital industry academy will be set up by the EDB. Trainees will benefit from a total stipend of up to 15,000 rupees, equally shared between HRDC and the private sector. Digital transformation initiatives and business advisory services will be eligible activities under the training fund of the Human Resources Development Council. Government will introduce mobile and contactless payment systems, starting with the Registrar General, NLTA, and the Companies Division. I now come to the financial services sector, which is one of the few sectors which has registered a positive growth in 2020. The strategy for the financial services sector is twofold. First, to enhance the status of our financial center as a jurisdiction of highest global standards. Second, to continue to improve and deepen the service offerings of our financial center. Mr. Speaker, sir, we remain committed to be fully compliant on AML-CFT matters. Government is sparing no efforts to complete the implementation of the FATF action plan for an early exit of the FATF list of jurisdiction under increased monitoring. Various measures, including supervisory, regulatory, and law enforcement, have been introduced to further strengthen the sustainability and effectiveness of our AML-CFT system. To enhance our AML-CFT legislative framework and its implementation, relevant legislation were amended to meet the requirement of the FATF recommendations on AML-CFT. New personnel have been recruited to strengthen our compliance capacity, and financial crime divisions have been set up at the Supreme Court and the Intermediate Court with a view to ensuring that financial crime cases are dealt with expeditiously. To continue on this path, the AML-CFT core group is being given legal force under the FIAMLA. The Financial Crime Commission will be established for a more effective management for the fight against financial crime. Furthermore, a new Bank of Mauritius bill and banking bill will be introduced reflecting best international practices. Mr. Speaker, sir, To sustain the development of this sector, a securitization bill will be introduced. The tax holiday for family offices, as well as fund and asset managers, will be extended from 5 to 10 years. A new securities bill will be introduced. A new legislation for virtual asset will be enacted. The Bank of Mauritius will roll out a central bank digital currency, the digital rupee, on a pilot basis. The Bank of Mauritius will introduce a dedicated QR code at national level to facilitate digital payments. The Bank of Mauritius guidelines allowing the setting up of regional offices by international banks will be revamped in line with the latest international trends. The Bank of Mauritius and the FSC will set up respectively an open lab for banking and payment solutions and a fintech innovation lab to encourage an entrepreneurship culture. The FSC will also implement a digital centralized information exchange system to facilitate motor insurance claim recoveries. The FSC One platform will be launched as an online licensing portal as from 1st July 2021. The Stock Exchange of Mauritius will introduce rules for the setting up of special purpose acquisition companies. And the BOM and the FSC will launch a one-year training program on AML and related matters for a minimum of 100 graduates with a monthly stipend of 15,000 rupees. Mr. Speaker, sir, as we recover, we need a more resilient manufacturing base. This year has been historic with 4 trade agreements coming into operation. The SECPA with India, the China FTA, the UK ESA agreement, and the African Continental FTA open new windows of opportunities for Mauritian businesses. A trade development and intelligence cell will be set up at the level of the EDB, which will operate as a one-stop desk for all trade-related matters. The EDB will also introduce an export development program to improve export readiness of enterprises to tap into the potential under the new trade agreements. To maintain the competitiveness of our exports, the freight rebate scheme is being extended until June 2022. We are increasing the maximum refund from 0.2 to 0.5% under the Export Credit Guarantee Scheme up to June 2022. The 50% reduction in port dues and terminal handling charges for export will be extended for 2 more years. Vessels calling at outer anchorage solely for bunkering services will be granted a 75% reduction in anchorage dues for the first 24 hours and 50% reduction for the next 48 hours. And the cap on gross tonnage for computing vessel fees calling at anchorage will be reduced from 100,000 tons to 35,000 tons. The EDB will launch an e-export directory to display to the world products manufactured by the Mauritian entrepreneur. The directory will be a matchmaking platform to facilitate movement of goods between Mauritius, Africa, and Asia. The Freeport will play a greater role in positioning Mauritius as a trade hub. To this end, third-party Freeport developers will be authorized to rent space to an enterprise outside the Freeport zone for manufacturing and storage of foods. Display showrooms will be added to the list of authorized Freeport activities. Mr. Speaker, sir, the pandemic has shown the ingenuity of the Mauritian industry to shift production lines and build new products. Masks and sanitizers are a few examples. To support the industry, the minimum shelf space for locally manufactured products will be increased from 10% to 40% within a period of 1 year. We are also favoring procurement of goods manufactured locally by increasing the bid price preference of 20% to 30% for products such as tea, fruit juices, margarine, and medical gas produced locally, and adopting a Mauritius first policy for the procurement of sanitizers, masks, PPEs, medical devices, and medical gas, amongst others. Mr. Speaker, sir, will also develop the knowledge industry. Some 3,500 foreign students were studying in Mauritius in 2020, in contrast to just 600 10 years ago. We want international students to think of Mauritius as a preferred destination to study, work, invest, and live. International students enrolled in a recognized education institution in Mauritius will benefit automatically from a 20 hours per week work permit and a 10-year renewable young professional occupation permit upon graduation. The construction and expansion of student campuses will be exempted from land transfer tax and registration duty. We'll also provide a concessional 3% corporate tax rate to private universities set up in Mauritius. The 50 government scholarship for African studies students will be open to students attending public universities. The higher educational desk at the Ministry of Education will work closely with the EDB to promote Mauritius as a study destination for international students. Mr. Speaker, sir, research is key to the knowledge industry. The Mauritius Research and Innovation Council will have broader mandates for fostering research and innovation. A pool of researchers will be mobilized to effectively respond to the research needs of businesses and government. A total sum of 125 million rupees is being earmarked for ministries to finance research projects in priority fields. The Emerging Technologies Council, which is being set up, will be a prominent addition to the research landscape, especially in new technologies such as blockchain, AI, and IoT. Mr. Speaker, sir, I now come to the third pillar, which is about restoring confidence. It is a sine qua non condition for socio-economic development. This government philosophy has always been to put people at the heart of its strategy. We will continue to stand by our people so that they can look to the future with confidence. This will ensure a stronger, more inclusive and sustainable society. Mr. Speaker, sir, we must enhance the skills of our labor force to match our economic ambitions. Our aim is to provide training and reskilling to some 10,000 individuals over the next financial year. To this end, the National Training and Reskilling Scheme will cater for some 6,000 unemployed individuals. A national apprenticeship program will be launched for the training of some 750 apprentices with a monthly stipend of 5,000 rupees and a traveling allowance of 1,000 rupees. The Youth Employment Program will be extended for another year for some 2,250 individuals. The SME Graduate Scheme will cater for some 1,000 students and will also cover vocational training. And the Dual Training Program will be renewed to cover 60% of academic fees of employees. Mr. Speaker, sir, Mauritius has always been a welcome home for professionals and international talents. As a small, open economy faced with a demographic challenge, it is imperative that we further open up our country. To complement the series of reforms to our openness strategy we announced last year, we are in this budget introducing a new set of policies. The occupation permit will be reviewed as follows. The validity period for an occupation permit for professionals is being extended from 3 years to 10 years. Spouses of OP holders wishing to invest or work in Mauritius will be exempted from applying from an occupation permit or a work permit. The maximum age limit of 24 years for dependents will be waived. Furthermore, we are introducing a new category under the occupation permit regime, the 10-year family occupation permit for those contributing $250,000 USD to the COVID-19 Project Development Fund. The EDB will set up a dedicated concierge service to provide a seamless experience to investors and retirees entering Mauritius. In addition, a privileged club scheme will be implemented, providing a range of incentives to occupation permit holders and retirees, ranging from privileged access to hotels, golf courses, restaurants, private medical institutions, amongst others. Mr. Speaker, sir, SMEs represent 1 in 2 jobs in the country. They have been severely affected by the pandemic. Lifting the confidence of our entrepreneurs is key to a strong and sustainable economic recovery. To support SMEs as they ride out the current crisis, and so that they can embrace the future with confidence, government will sustain the payment of wages through the financing of the salary compensation of 375 rupees monthly for fiscal year 2021-2022. Extend the exemption on trade fees not exceeding 5,000 rupees for an additional 5 years. Grant an amnesty on trade fees and related penalties and interest that were due before 1st January 2020. Extend the tax arrears settlement scheme for SMEs up to December 2021. Increase the total maximum grant across all schemes implemented by SMEs Mauritius Limited from 150,000 rupees to 200,000 rupees. To encourage large manufacturers to procure from SMEs, a 110% deduction will be allowed on the taxable income for the direct expenditure incurred on the purchase of products manufactured locally by SMEs. The DBM Limited will provide a rebate of up to 30% on the annual rental of industrial space to SMEs engaged in the manufacturing sector over the next 3 years. Construct an SME industrial park of 5,000 square meters at Solferino, in addition to Plaine Magnan and Villemain. Allocate 20% of spaces in these upcoming parks rent-free to startups for the first 3 years of operation. SMEs will also be eligible to the following loan schemes from the DBM. 100,000 rupees interest-free loan for cash flow issues and a 0.5% COVID-19 special support scheme of up to 1 million rupees. We'll also support SMEs and mid-market enterprises who have been impacted by the current crisis. To this end, DBM will earmark an amount of 1 billion rupees to provide loan facilities of up to 5 million rupees to retailers with turnover of up to 250 million rupees at a concessional rate of 3.5% per annum. The EDB will set up an online marketplace for startups to showcase their products and services. Mr. Speaker, sir, economic development and social development are two sides of the same coin. Our long-term economic recovery can only be sustainable if it includes one and all. Our future can only be better if it is built together. Mr. Speaker, sir, this is why we need to invest in quality education for our children. Since 2015, government has embarked on a transformation agenda across all levels. The objective is to prepare our youth to become responsible citizens and a driving force of our society. This year, I'm providing 17 billion rupees in the budget for the education sector, an increase of some 2 billion rupees as compared to last year. The branding process of our schools towards a more conducive teaching and learning environment for both teachers and students will include the upgrading and embellishment of our school infrastructure. This year we'll start with 20 public pre-primary schools, 70 primary schools, and 30 secondary schools. Investment in a comprehensive facility maintenance program led by Mori Facilities Management Company Limited. The recruitment of 257 surveillants, 257 library officers, and 34 educational psychologists for primary and secondary schools. 10 coordinators and 10 assistant coordinators for pre-primary schools, and 235 additional support teachers for the extension of the early support program to all primary pupils. Early childhood care and education sets a critical foundation for a child's educational journey. We are therefore increasing the monthly per capita grant for children attending private pre-primary schools from 200 rupees to 400 rupees. This measure will benefit some more than 22,000 children annually. Mr. Speaker, sir, we will also be giving more support to special education needs students. The grant to NGOs running SEND schools will be increased from 138 million rupees to 151 million rupees to cater for an increase from 5,400 rupees to 6,000 rupees for the basic grant component in the grant in aid formula for each student. An increase in the meal allowance for students attending SEND school from 60 rupees to 75 rupees per day, and a grant to new registered NGOs to support SEND students with autism and those suffering from visual and hearing difficulties. In addition, resource and development units will be set up in 5 SEND schools at Rosebell, Cupip, Quatre-Bornes, Port Louis, and Black River to facilitate access to paramedical services and therapy. Activity books of grade 1 to 6 will be adapted for learners with visual, hearing, intellectual impairment, as well as for autism. Braille notes will be acquired for secondary school students with severe visual impairments. Mr. Speaker, sir, this year, academies under the 9-year continuous basic education reform will be operational. In this regard, some 850 million rupees is being provided for the construction of a new school at Rivière-du-Rempart and the extension of 15 schools over the next 3 years. Multi-purpose halls and playfields will be constructed in secondary schools at Goodlands, Floréal, Sodnac, Vaqua, Belle Village, and Eben at a cost of some 490 million rupees. These sport facilities will be made available to the general public after school hours and during weekends. 170 million rupees are being provided for the deployment of wireless local area network in 155 secondary schools in Mauritius and Rodrigues. To modernize our technical and vocational education and training sector, an Institute of Technical Education and Technology will be set up to provide technical education at grade 10 and 11. A new technical education center will be constructed at Eben, and the Polytechnics Mauritius Limited campus at Réduit will be expanded. Mr. Speaker, sir, to support online learning, the University of Mauritius, University of Technology, and l'Université des Mascareignes will invest some 33 million rupees in an e-learning management system. I'm also providing this year 70 million rupees for the construction of the Civil Service College at Réduit. Mr. Speaker, sir, the COVID-19 pandemic has put healthcare resilience around the world to the test. Our healthcare professionals have made a formidable effort in dealing with the pandemic in Mauritius. We'll continue to provide all the required infrastructure and equipment to protect our healthcare personnel and better respond to the needs of our population. To this end, we have increased the public health budget to 14.5 billion rupees. This includes an amount of 2.3 billion rupees for the construction of a cancer center at Solferino, a new hospital at Flac, an eye hospital at Réduit, 6 mediclinics at Quartier Militaire Stanley Coromandel, Bel Air, Grand Bois, and Chemin Grenier, 5 community health centers at Saint-François-Xavier, Rochebois, Grand Bay, Pointe-aux-Sables, and Trou-de-Douce, 4 area health centers at Henrietta, Cap-Malheureux, New Grove, and Plaine-Magnan, and a modern cardiac center at Côte d'Or. This amount will also cater for the acquisition of high-tech medical equipment, including a CT scan for Souillac Hospital, the acquisition of 80 hemodialysis equipment for the Souillac Hospital and the 5 regional hospitals, and upgrading works and setting up of daycare wards for autistic children at the 5 regional hospitals. In addition, a CyberKnife robotic radiosurgery system for advanced cancer treatment will be installed in the new cancer center. The overseas treatment scheme will be reviewed as follows. The income eligibility criteria for households will be increased from 50,000 rupees to 100,000 rupees. And a framework will be established with private clinics to allow patients to undergo treatment locally under the scheme if treatment is not available in public hospitals. A special zero-interest loan to patients undergoing treatment in private hospitals will be introduced. Private health institutions will also benefit from a double deduction for expenses related to international accreditation. The Medical Council Act and Dental Council Act will be amended to facilitate registration of foreign practitioners. With a view to discouraging the excessive consumption of alcohol and tobacco products, I'm increasing, with effect as from tomorrow, the rate of excise duty by 10%. I will be moving for a financial resolution to that effect. Mr. Speaker, sir, the fight against poverty, the integration of the most vulnerable of our society, and the improvement of the quality of life of the disabled and our elderly is our raison d'être. To eradicate absolute poverty in Mauritius, our Prime Minister introduced in the 2016-2017 budget a historic monthly subsistence allowance for a family of 2 adults and 3 children with a maximum threshold of 9,520 rupees. These families are the most vulnerable of our society. We are therefore reviewing this threshold for eligibility under the Social Register of Mauritius as follows: an increase from 2,720 rupees to 3,000 rupees for an adult, and an increase from 1,360 rupees to 1,500 rupees for a child. In fact, the maximum threshold will increase from 9,520 rupees to 10,500 rupees as from 1st of July 2021. Moreover, the free broadband internet facilities will be extended for another year to eligible households registered under the Social Register of Mauritius. Households earning a monthly income between 10,500 rupees and 14,000 rupees will be eligible to register for support under the National Database for Vulnerable Groups. The monthly orphan pension will be increased to 8,000 rupees for those aged up to 23 years old. We are extending the incontinence allowance currently paid at the age of 70 years and above to all eligible bedridden persons, irrespective of age. Moreover, the monthly incontinence allowance will be increased from 900 rupees to 1,500 rupees. The National Social Inclusion Foundation will provide a grant of some 845 million rupees to NGOs to support programs and projects to alleviate poverty and for a more inclusive society. In addition to the existing grant under the per capita subsidy scheme and the fixed grant scheme, we are also providing a one-off assistance of 10 million rupees to religious bodies. Mr. Speaker, sir, despite the difficult situation, we have decided to maintain the basic pensions at 9,000 rupees monthly for those aged 60 years and above. This is in line with our philosophy. In fact, government has increased the budget for basic retirement pensions threefold, from 9.1 billion rupees in 2014 to 28.9 billion rupees in 2021. To ensure a fairer and more sustainable pension system, we introduced last year the Contribution Sociale Généralisée system. To fully implement the CSG, a comprehensive legislation will be introduced shortly to cater for payment of contribution and benefits. Under the NPF, self-employed individuals were not eligible to benefits in case of injury at work. With the CSG, they will now be eligible to those benefits as long as they are registered with the MRA and contributing to the CSG. This will allow them to benefit from any government assistance, as in the case for employees in the formal sector. Mr. Speaker, sir, our priority remains upholding gender equality, empowering women, and protecting our children for a fairer society. The government will relentlessly work towards providing equal opportunities and support to everyone. In line with the Children's Act, I'm providing for an increase in the monthly foster care allowance from 5,250 rupees to 8,000 rupees. The setting up of a children's court, the services of guardian ad litem to children during their court proceedings, pre-trial and post-trial psychological support to children victims of violence, and a community child protection program in vulnerable areas to sensitize community members on the detection of child abuses. Furthermore, an accompagnement des familles programme will be set up to educate vulnerable couples on family matters. The Protection from Domestic Violence Act will be amended to include recording sound video as a recognized form of testimony. In addition, to support women entrepreneurship, they will be eligible to the following loan schemes from the DBM: 100,000 rupees interest-free loan for cash flow issues, and a 0.5% COVID-19 special support scheme of up to 1 million rupees. To increase women participation in the economy, women aged 30 and above will now be eligible under the Back to Work program instead of 35 years. Moreover, the monthly stipend will be increased to 10,575 rupees. Mr. Speaker, sir, this government, under the leadership of the Honorable Prime Minister, has adopted a zero-tolerance approach in the relentless fight against drug trafficking and criminality. Our efforts are paying off, and we are continuously stepping up our fight. In this budget, we'll give additional means to the police force, which has been working tirelessly for a safer Mauritius. We are devoting 10.3 billion rupees to the police force. This represents an increase of 1.9 billion rupees over last year's budget. Over the next 3 years, we'll recruit 4,000 police officers, promote 1,457 police officers to the rank of police sergeants, acquire a passenger variant Dornier and an advanced light helicopter, construct the Mauritius Disciplined Forces Academy at Côte d'Or, replace the coastal surveillance radar systems, and acquire high patrol vessels for the National Coast Guard, 60 police vehicles, 12 light armored personnel carriers, and special vehicles and equipment for the anti-drug and smuggling unit. We'll construct police stations at L'Escalier and Vallée des Prêtres. Government is thankful to Japanese authorities for the donation of the maritime surveillance system, which will enhance our maritime security. I'm also providing 500 million rupees for the construction of a complex at La Vigie to house the Forensic Science Laboratory. Mr. Speaker, sir, the promotion of sports, physical activity, and leisure for our citizens is high on our agenda. The vision of the Honorable Prime Minister is to create the opportunities for everyone to participate fully in the socio-economic development of our country whilst building a healthier community. Hence, we'll continue to invest in modern sports infrastructure across the island. 225 million rupees for the construction of a multi-sports complex at Triolet. 30 million rupees for the upgrading of existing sports infrastructure, which include 5 swimming pools, the Glen Park Sports Complex, and the Beaubassin Sports Complex. 60 million rupees for the upgrading and modernization of the Rose Hill Sports Complex into a dynamic youth park. And 12 million rupees for the construction of the Blue Bay Arena, which will be used for the 2022 Jeux de la Commission de la Jeunesse et des Sports de l'Océan Indien. Mr. Speaker, sir, our youth is our future, and their needs, interests, and hopes have to be at the center of our decision-making. In order to deliver on the priorities of our youth, the National Youth Council will be strengthened to transform current youth centers into modern youth hubs over the next 3 years at the cost of 165 million rupees. The hubs will be community focal points, delivering and matching our youth to appropriate programs, activities, counselors, careers, and sports to further enhance their lives. The youth hubs will also engage our youth in issues related to the environment. To this end, the National Youth Environment Council will be provided with a seed capital of 5 million rupees. Furthermore, to ensure that our youth develop a positive relationship with their surroundings, we'll introduce outdoor education programs in the secondary school curriculum for all students in grades 10 to 12. To deliver this program in secondary schools, 32 million rupees will thus be invested to convert the 4 existing outdoor centers into a national outdoor education and recreation center at Pointe-Jérôme and 3 regional outdoor education and recreational centers at Flic-en-Flac, Bellemare, and Anse-Larrey. The natation scolaire program will be fully integrated in the school curriculum to ensure that all primary school leavers have acquired swimming skills and are able to enjoy our lagoons safely. The Sport Facilities Mauritius Unit will supervise the maintenance and long-term strategy of our national portfolio of sport facilities, youth hubs, outdoor education, and recreation centers. Mr. Speaker, sir, our elite athletes have achieved remarkable results in recent years. We'll continue to support them by providing a one-off grant of 10,000 rupees to 125 young high-level athletes for the purchase of sport equipment. We are earmarking 23 million rupees for the High Performance Center at the Côte d'Or National Sports Complex to provide the latest sports science, medical, and technological support for our athletes. We are also providing 15 million rupees for the hosting of the CJSOE 2022. To prepare our athletes for the next Jeux des Îles de l'Océan Indien in 2023, I'm allocating a budget of 10 million rupees for the upcoming financial year. The Mauritius Paralympic Committee will bid for the hosting of the 4th World Para-Athletic Junior Championship at the National Côte d'Or Complex to be held in August 2023. A recreation council will be set up for the organization of recreation programs at national level. Mr. Speaker, sir, government will pursue its objective of broadening and deepening skills and talents in the arts and culture ecosystem. For the professionalization of artists, the Status of Artist Bill is being finalized and will be introduced soon. The EDB will act as a one-stop shop to register and assist our local artists as well as promote the sector internationally. Preservation of our heritage buildings and museums is another key initiative to safeguard, promote, and revive the history of our country. To that end, the National Heritage Fund will henceforth engage with the private sector to better preserve, protect, and promote national heritage sites. And 50 million rupees are being provided for the implementation of Phase 2 of the Intercontinental Slavery Museum project over 2 years. The list of areas of intervention under the CSR program will include the restoration of a building designated as a national heritage. We'll introduce 4 special little draws for the financing of restoration of designated historical sites and museums. In addition, a series of events will be organized during the year to promote art and culture across the island, including la Nuit du Conte et du Slam, a Caravans d'Histoire, and a National Artist of the Year award. Mr. Speaker, sir, to achieve our goals for the economy, we need a strong, resilient, and efficient public service. In addition to the construction of the Civil Service College, we are providing funds this year for the implementation of the PRB report. This year, we'll also recruit some 4,450 new public officers. We'll also organize for the first time an annual event to mark the UN Public Service Day, to acknowledge the contribution of public officers in the socio-economic development. Continuous improvement in public service delivery is at the core of our strategy for a better Mauritius. To further strengthen accountability and transparency in the management of public funds, we are changing the format of the budget estimates to provide strategic information in line with the principles of performance-based budgeting. Mr. Speaker, sir, meeting the needs of the present generation without compromising on the future generation entails preserving our pristine ecosystem. This budget sets the stage for a sustainability transition program. In addition to our green energy strategy, we are engaging in the rehabilitation of our coastlines, the cleaning and embellishment of our country, and the promotion of a circular economy. To this end, 2.2 billion rupees is being allocated to the National Environment Fund. Some 1.2 billion rupees will be invested over the next 3 years for the rehabilitation and protection of our coastlines against the consequences of climate change, including works between Pointe-aux-Feuilles and Vieux-Grand-Port, a walkway, jetty, slipway, boat passage, and coastal restoration at Vieux-Grand-Port and Rivière-des-Créoles. 15,000 mangroves will be planted in the southeastern coast from Quatre-Sœurs to Rivière-des-Créoles, as well as the western region from Tamarin to Rivière-Noire and Casse-Noyal to Baie du Cap. And major landslide stabilization works at Chamarel, Cormandel, Rivière-des-Créoles, Baie du Cap, Montagne-Aury, Battelage-Souillac, Souillac Bridge, and Maconde Cliff. I'm providing for the establishment of the National Environment Cleaning Authority, NECA, with a seed funding of 100 million rupees. The authority under the aegis of the Prime Minister's office will spearhead the national cleaning agenda. An additional 790 million rupees will be earmarked for cleaning embellishment as well as solid waste management. These funds will be used, amongst others, to replace and modernize the cleaning equipment, clean and embellish some 110 public and other sites, including places of worship, children's playground, and health tracks, embellish road reserves along M1 and M2 motorways, and clean, rehabilitate, and upgrade drains, bridges, and rivers at Ruisseau du Pouce, Canal Kitchery, Tranquebord, Rivelet, Terre Rouge, Grand Bois, Canal Anglais, Magenta Canal, Fosse de Flac, Midlands, Rosebel, and Maibourg. To further promote the circular economy, we are providing some 200 million rupees, which will include investing in 3 additional civic amenity centers at Poudre d'Or, Rochebois, and La Brasserie transfer station, setting up of 6 composting plants with a total capacity of 12,000 tons of green waste at Henrietta, Salazie, La Martinière, La Chaumière, Pamplemousse Botanical Garden, and Brado National Park. Providing for the installation of some 400 eco-bins around the island and 50,000 bins to households, and introducing a sustainable public procurement framework to promote green procurement by public bodies. Mr. Speaker, sir, the development of roadways has always been high on the agenda of this government. As part of the transformational development of roadways and to enable the development of more economic activities on the island, Airport of Mauritius Limited will invest some 4 billion rupees for the construction of a runway at Plaine Corail Airport over the next 3 years. 1 billion rupees will be invested by MIC to provide for a regular distribution of water. DBM will provide a loan of up to 200,000 rupees to registered planters and farmers to construct their own water storage facility and invest in new irrigation systems. 200 million rupees will be provided for the construction of track roads around roadways. To support the tourism industry, the subsidy on special roadways holiday package and subsidy on airfare will be maintained. The cost of freight between Mauritius and roadway is being reduced by 20%. As regards Agaliga, the new jetty and airstrip will be completed during the next financial year, 2021-2022. The improved air and sea connectivity will definitely boost up the socio-economic development of the population of Agaliga. Mr. Speaker, sir, late Sir Nehru Jagannath will always be remembered for his invaluable contribution to what he called, I quote, the sacred endeavor to complete the decolonization process of our country, unquote. Under his leadership, our sovereignty over the Chagos Archipelago has been recognized by the UN General Assembly. It is our duty to pursue relentlessly his fight for the completion of our decolonization so that Mauritius can fully and effectively exercise its sovereignty over the Chagos Archipelago. This year, I'm introducing a special budgetary item of 50 million rupees under the Prime Minister's office to raise global awareness to the unlawful detachment of the Chagos from the Republic of Mauritius. I'm also providing 50 million rupees for the organization of a trip to the Chagos, which will be led by the Honorable Prime Minister. Monsieur le Président, Je vais maintenant m'adresser à tous nos concitoyens. Le gouvernement a été à vos côtés contre vent et marée et continuera sans cesse d'agir ainsi. Prendre soin de notre population est notre priorité. L'emploi, la santé et le niveau de vie constituent le triptyque de notre stratégie. Pour préserver les emplois et maintenir les moyens de subsistance de nos citoyens, 23,5 milliards de roupies ont été déboursés par le biais du Wage Assistance Scheme et du Self-Employed Assistance Scheme. Ces programmes ont aidé quelques 450 000 de nos concitoyens. Nous sommes conscients de l'épreuve et des difficultés rencontrées par les personnes travaillant dans le tourisme et les PME qui sont les secteurs les plus touchés. Ce chemin, nous allons le parcourir ensemble. Nous sommes à vos côtés et nous allons prolonger ces aides exceptionnelles pour le tourisme et les PME. Par ailleurs, pour préserver les emplois, nous continuerons à verser la compensation salariale de 375 roupies par mois pour les PME pour le prochain exercice financier. En outre, nous créons de nouvelles opportunités d'emploi pour quelques 4 450 personnes dans, entre autres, les forces de police, le secteur de l'éducation et celui de la santé. Ce budget pose également les jalons d'un dynamisme renouvelé et d'une confiance restaurée pour que le secteur privé investisse davantage. Cela créera de nouvelles perspectives d'emploi pour nos jeunes dans l'économie de la connaissance, l'industrie pharmaceutique, la biotechnologie, les énergies renouvelables et l'industrie numérique, pour ne citer que ces secteurs. Monsieur le Président, il existe encore des incertitudes sur la durée de la pandémie. Dès lors, pour bénéficier des futures aides gouvernementales, nous lançons un appel aux travailleurs indépendants pour qu'ils s'enregistrent auprès de la MRA. Cela permettra à ces travailleurs indépendants d'obtenir un montant d'aide calculé en fonction de leurs revenus. Monsieur le Président, la Covid-19 a bouleversé de façon drastique et permanente notre mode de vie. L'adaptation est clé en ces temps difficiles. C'est pourquoi le gouvernement ne néglige aucune piste pour atteindre l'immunité collective d'ici le mois de septembre de cette année. Le gouvernement a dépensé environ 550 millions de roupies pour l'acquisition des vaccins jusqu'à présent. Je saisis cette occasion pour remercier tous ceux qui ont fait preuve d'une immense solidarité en contribuant à cet effort. À l'avenir, nous savons que nous devons continuer à vivre avec la Covid-19. Par conséquent, des campagnes de vaccination devront être mises en place de manière régulière afin de protéger continuellement la santé de nos citoyens. Afin d'en supporter le coût de manière durable, nous introduisons une taxe de 2 roupies par litre sur l'essence et le diesel pour l'achat de vaccins. Ainsi, la vaccination sera gratuite pour tous. En outre, le gouvernement s'est engagé à ne laisser personne de côté en ce qui concerne l'accès à des soins de santé de qualité. Le seuil d'éligibilité pour l'Overseas Treatment Scheme passe ainsi de 50 000 roupies à 100 000 roupies par ménage. De plus, afin de réduire le stress lié au voyage à l'étranger, nous élaborons un cadre pour permettre aux médecins étrangers de prodiguer des traitements à Maurice. Enfin, un prêt spécial à taux zéro pour les patients pris en charge dans les établissements privés sera introduit. Monsieur le Président, sous le leadership du Premier ministre, notre philosophie est d'améliorer sans cesse le niveau de vie de chaque Mauricien. Par le biais de ce budget, nous faisons un pas supplémentaire en avant pour faciliter l'accès à la propriété résidentielle. Le gouvernement remboursera jusqu'à 500 000 roupies du coût d'acquisition d'une propriété ou d'un terrain résidentiel, ainsi que du coût de la construction d'une résidence dans le pays. Par ailleurs, en tant que caring government, nous sommes fiers de rendre les produits de première nécessité abordables pour tous. Dorénavant, afin de maintenir le prix au détail du pain de 100 grammes, le pain maison, nous étendons la subvention sur le prix de la farine blanche pour les sacs de 25 kg à 155 roupies pour une année supplémentaire. Dans cette lignée, et afin de promouvoir un mode de vie plus sain, je prévois une subvention supplémentaire de 19,50 roupies par sac de 25 kg pour aligner le prix de la farine de blé sur celui de la farine blanche. Monsieur le gouvernement, Monsieur le Président, ce gouvernement a toujours placé l'humain au cœur de sa stratégie. Nous veillerons à ce que personne ne soit laissé pour compte et ne soit privé d'opportunités. Pour les enfants issus de familles inscrites au SARM, nous les exempterons du paiement des frais d'examen du MITD pour l'année financière 2021-2022. Mettrons gratuitement à la disposition des jeunes filles des grades 6 à 13 des serviettes hygiéniques et fourniront sans frais des lunettes de vue pour les enfants âgés jusqu'à 18 ans. Nous allons également mettre à niveau les installations pour 4 plages publiques, à savoir Montchoisy, Flic-en-Flac, Bellemare et La Prairie, pour les rendre accessibles aux personnes autrement capables. Par ailleurs, je vais augmenter l'exemption maximale pour un enfant poursuivant des études supérieures à 225 000 roupies, indépendamment du lieu d'études de l'enfant et du revenu total du ménage. Augmenter la déduction maximale autorisée pour les primes d'assurance médicale de 15 000 roupies à 20 000 roupies pour un individu et sa première personne à charge, et 10 000 roupies à 15 000 roupies pour chaque autre personne à charge. Permettre une exemption pour des dons faits aux ONG caritatives et aux organismes religieux approuvés jusqu'à un montant de 30 000 roupies. Et permettre une exemption d'un montant allant jusqu'à 30 000 roupies pour un régime de retraite individuelle. Monsieur le Président, nous voulons également donner à nos jeunes le goût de la lecture pour renforcer leur créativité et leur désir d'apprentissage. J'ai le plaisir d'annoncer que le gouvernement donnera un bon unique de 500 roupies à tous les enfants âgés de 15 à 18 ans pour qu'ils puissent acheter des livres. Mr. Speaker, sir, as we steer our way to economic recovery and protecting the lives and livelihoods of the population, will ensure that our public finances remain sound, with the unprecedented support to businesses and individuals, coupled with a decrease in revenue. The budget deficit for fiscal year 2020-2021 is expected to reach 5.6%. Countries across the world have faced a similar situation. Our public sector debt will be 95% of GDP in June 2021 due to 2 consecutive GDP contractions. Interest payments to GDP remains at around 2.8% during fiscal year 2020-2021. This is within the target of 3.5% we had set last year. Mr. Speaker, sir, measures announced in this budget will accelerate our economic recovery, boost our GDP growth, and place our public sector debt on a downward path. For fiscal year 2021-2022, we are expecting a GDP growth of 9%. Total expenditure will represent 32.5% of GDP, and total revenue 27.5% of GDP. The budget deficit will be contained at 5% of GDP. Our public sector debt to GDP ratio will be reduced by around 4 percentage points to 91%. Our objective is to bring it down to less than 80% of GDP by end June 2025 and to 70% by end June 2030. Mr. Speaker, sir, the preparation of this budget has required much effort. For the smooth implementation of the measures announced A project implementation and monitoring agency will be set up under the Ministry of Finance, Economic Planning and Development to monitor, oversee, coordinate, and assist in the implementation of budgetary measures, projects, and programs, including those under the COVID-19 Project Development Fund. The agency will report on progress on a monthly basis to a coordination committee under the chairmanship of the Prime Minister. And the high-level committee on private sector investment projects will meet on a monthly basis under the chair of the Honorable Prime Minister. Before concluding, I would like to seize the opportunity to thank the Prime Minister for his continuous and unflinching support for the preparation of this budget, as well as the valuable input of my colleague ministers. I would also like to thank my team, in particular the Financial Secretary. On behalf of the government and on my own behalf, I would like to thank the various organizations and citizens of our country who have shared their views and contributed to the preparation of this budget. We have given due consideration to their suggestions. Mr. Speaker, sir, I will now conclude. Budget 2021-2022 is about meeting the challenges of economic recovery and social resilience. It is about supporting the population and businesses during these unprecedented times. It is about promoting inclusiveness so that no one is left behind. It is about leaving a green legacy to our future generation. It is a budget which follows the philosophy of Sir Nehru Jagannath. His thinking, his vision, his culture of hard work, of always striving and never letting up, no matter how tough the challenge, and his achievements have left an indelible, proud legacy for us and for generations to come. Sir Nehru Jagannath had a great vision for Mauritius, a vision which he stated in his budget speech in 1991, when he expressed wholeheartedly his wish for Mauritius to be a land of achievers and of achievements. His visions lives on. Together, we'll continue to build on his legacy. Together, we'll be better. I now commend the bill to the House. Thank you.
Resolution.
Qu'est-ce qu'on fait? Mr. Speaker, sir, in terms of Standing Order 17.3, I move to take the time of the Assembly for urgent business.
The question is that Honourable Minister of Finance, Economic Planning and Development be allowed under Standing Order 17.3 to take the time of the House for urgent business. Those in favour say aye. Those against say aye. The ayes have it.
Mr. Speaker, sir, having obtained your permission, I beg to move the suspension of Standing Order 29.1 in order that I may present a financial resolution without notice.
The question is that Standing Order 29.1 be suspended so that the Honourable Minister of Finance, Economic Planning and Development be allowed to present a financial resolution without notice. Those in favour say aye, those against say no. Aye.
Mr. Speaker,
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I move that this Assembly resolves that with effect from 12 June 2021, excise duty shall, in respect of the excisable goods falling under their respective HS codes, as specified in the schedule to this resolution, be levied at the rate corresponding to those HS codes and excisable goods, as specified in that schedule, and not at the rate corresponding to those HS codes and excisable goods as specified in Part 1 of the first schedule to the Excise Act.
The question is that this Assembly resolves that with effect from 12 June 2021, excise duty shall, in respect of the excisable goods falling under their respective HS codes, as specified in the schedule to this resolution, be levied at the rate corresponding to those HS codes and excisable goods as specified in that schedule, and not at the rate corresponding to those HS codes and excisable goods as specified in Part 1 of the first schedule of the Excise Act. Those in favor say aye, those against say no.
Aye.
The ayes have it.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I move for adjournment of the House to Monday, the 14th of June at 11:30 a.m.
Question that the House be adjourned to Monday, 14th June 2021 at 11:30 a.m. The House stands adjourned.